Thanks everybody for coming in this morning. We'll be doing a reading from a couple of works this morning, the first of which is going to come from Pandora's Curse. Pandora's Curse is the first in a series that is urban fantasy. It's meant to be around the lines of, what happens if all the old gods, monsters, everything we see from myth and legend really is here and still exists in the modern day. And because I have a great love of playing with legend and mythology and things along those lines, the idea behind this became that the Amazons have a consulting company. They'll fix whatever your problem is for a price. And my poor protagonist happens to owe them a favor. And so his greater backstory is that he is in trouble for something that happened in his past. He's a spirit or magic worker type, wizard type. He's had all his power stripped away except for a few abilities that he was left with, and he was sent on a walkabout to figure out what happened to him. So where this book is coming in is at the beginning of it. He's sort of been out trying to find where he's at, trying to figure out what's going on with himself, and an old friend calls him in to try to help out with something. So this is from Pandora's Curse. I cruised out of Las Vegas headed towards Boulder City to see a client I'd picked up by referral. My gut had told me to turn down the client, but the job meant it would be a quick cash infusion and not much of a trip since I'd just wrapped up a gig outside of Scottsdale. Well-paying jobs are hard to find for outcast wizards, or so they told me, and the last couple of years had been nothing but side jobs. The referral sounded like an easy search and retrieve job. Plus, I'd get the opportunity to tour the house of Henri Klaus, a.k.a. Henri the Magnificent, a.k.a. the best comedic illusionist in history. Unfortunately, he was dead. I was also looking forward to meeting Katerina, Henri's assistant, a.k.a. Catty Ash, a.k.a. the Jazz Diva, a.k.a. Catherine Klaus, Pain in the Ash Widow. The last one had been the headline in the magazine racks when our Vegas show got canceled. I'd assisted Henri a few times myself. His stage act had been helped by the fact he'd been a pretty good practitioner of the magical arts, the real stuff. Even with my abilities bound, I had more raw powers of third-rate hack wizard than he did, but he'd had the flair to make it work beautifully. I pulled up in front of the nice-sized adobe house. From the lack of neighbors, either the Klauses had a lot of land, or it was a hell of a neighborhood being this isolated in the middle of the baked desert. I parked my classic motorcycle, an Indian that was older than I was, in the drive and made my way up the gravel walkway to ring the front doorbell. A bottle blonde wearing a white skirt and red top opened the door. Even though she was pushing 50 and a raging alcoholic, Miss Klaus still looked pretty good. She managed to slur, "Are you Obie's fixer?" It was nearly noon, and she'd already looked as though she was a couple of martinis in. I offered my hand. Gray Forrester. She waved for me to come in and stumbled down the few stairs that led into the living room foyer. "I'm Katie Ash Klaus." With an air of derision, she added, "Welcome to the Gray Klaus estate." She motioned to a chair in a large open room and walked behind a well-stocked bar. Memorabilia from both her and her husband's careers lined the walls. An outfit Henri had worn in a short-lived television variety show from the 70s was in a glass case next to the wall. Miss Klaus slurred slightly and topped off her glass with a slightly cloudy liquid from a silver shaker. "Care for a drink?" "Water will be fine," I said. She handed me a chilled bottle of water from the mini fridge from under the bar. "So what are you? What's your trick?" I took a sip from the bottle to wash down some of the dust from the road. "I find people, objects, information. I have a few talents." She gave a dismissive wave. Yeah, sure. Obie referred you to me, said you were legit or something." I was really starting to understand why her career crashed. She was well on her way to being drunk before noon. Her voice was holding that raspy quality that came from decades of the party life, and her not-so-charming personality topped it all off. I thought about Obie Ramla, my friend from Los Angeles. I was trying to figure out why he was so pissed at me he'd sent me to deal with this woman. I do a little work for him now and again. Why don't you tell me why I'm here? Had a number of scammers come through the way since my Henri died. She rambled. All the money is in the safe in his office, and I don't have the combination. I miss my Henri, but a girl's got to live. I've taken enough to get by, but barely. I've got the combination, but Linus Locksmiths or expert safecrackers have all taken your shot. I need the combination. The jackass hid it around here somewhere. Looked as though I might get lucky and this be a quick job. I could get back to Vegas by nightfall. Let's take a look. She opened the doors to a nice office off the den. More memorabilia lined the walls, including props and pictures from Henri's lifetime in the entertainment industry. He had loved the crowds, big and small. Miss Klaus seemed to love herself and her husband's cash. She waved. I haven't cleared any of his crap out just in case it has the combination, or it's worth something. I felt lucky that I'd never met his adoring wife of his when I worked for Henri. She led me to a large, old-fashioned floor safe that looked to be at least 100 years old. The name on the front was J. Baum Safe and Lock Company. Cracking it should have been an easy job. I couldn't understand why even a hack couldn't get it open. I opened up my sight and looked around the room. One of the few abilities not taken from me was my ability to open the world around me in a flood of color from the energy stored in everything. At least the objects and people showed a fine aura. Stretched to my limits, the universe around me looked like a technicolor cartoon. Enchant or magically charged objects shone with a distinctive shimmer, and the safe was lit up like the Strip in Vegas. Many of the props, books, and memorabilia were charged as well. I realized that Henri himself sat in the chair behind his old desk. His ghost looked back at me. "Hey, kid, how'd you get roped into this?" I turned to his widow. "Miss Klaus, any chance I could be alone in here for a little while?" "Sure, and call me Katie. I'll be back in a few." She walked out and closed the door. "Hey, Henri, you look good." I could see some spirits when I tuned in just right. Henri looked like he was just putting in some effort into being seen. His ghostly projection appeared just as he had in his 40s, his heyday. He was thin, wavy dark hair had just a little frost at the temples. He was dressed in what had once been his favorite polo and khakis look. The tassels on his loafers were worn, but the shoes were polished. "How'd you tick off Obi so badly that he sent you to deal with the old lady?" he asked. I laughed. "I think he's trying to get his jabs in before I go back to the inquest and they execute me, so keep me a seat at the bar." Henri smiled. "Kid, I wouldn't worry about that. If you can survive the next few weeks, the inquest will be a snap. I have it from good inside sources." The inquest. My reason for being banished from home. I wasn't any closer to finding out what happened in my former home, but all the people who died were on the edges of my mind, especially my parents. If I didn't have an answer soon, Henri could perform for the family reunion. "So what's the deal with the safe?" Henri stood and bowed, ever the showman. He walked over and ran his fingers across the top of the safe. "You like this one, do you? The alchemist who did this for me was a real craftsman. The wife's brought in all sorts of hacks to take a shot, and then when they fail, she bangs them all over the house so the trip wasn't a waste. And so she doesn't have to shell out any cash. Young stud like you, I bet she tries to bed you before you even get a shot." Well, that was uncomfortable. "I'm not going to sleep with your wife, Henri." "Widow, she's fair game, but thanks for that, kid. You're still better than most, even if you've sent more than a few of your friends and family to this side of the veil prematurely." More uncomfortable feelings caused me to shuffle from one foot to the other. "So, speaking of that, where did you wind up?" "Can't tell you that, kid, but they don't let spirits out of hell on field trips." That made me feel a little better. The door behind me opened. Miss Klaus, Katie, had made herself a little more comfortable by changing into a short kimono and matching thong. "Talking to the safe? How's that working for you?" I was really starting not to like the snippy harpy. She plopped herself on Henri's desk, showing a little leg. I understood how she was getting free services from the safe crackers. "Well, Katie, I'm not talking to the safe. I'm talking to Henri. Catching up, in fact." She rolled her eyes. "Okay, the Psychic Friends Network scam. And what did dear Henri say?" I fumbled for a response that wouldn't get me slapped, but couldn't think of one. "That you've been banging everyone that came through to get freebies from the safe crackers." She flushed a bright red. Henri piped in. "Tell her not to do it on my desk again. Or if she does, to at least wipe off the ass prints. The plumber got grease all over the wood." "I'm not telling her that," I said. "What?" Katie snapped. I sighed. "He said, don't bang the plumber on the desk again, or if you do, have the decency to wipe it down. He left grease everywhere." Katie's jaw hung open and she paled. Henri broke into hysterics. I was trying to figure out how a ghost could snort when it left. Ghosts don't need to breathe, right? Miss Klaus sat on the love seat, obviously shaken. "Get the hell out of my house. I don't know how you think you know something, but get out." I was happy to leave, even if the trip had been a waste. I needed to hit Vegas to see an old friend anyway. Later, Henri, keep the bar stool warm for me. I was almost out of the door when Henri popped up in front of me. Okay, kid, tell her this. The security's a time lock. The safe is really only there during the same window of time every day, from the time she poisoned me to the time I died. The rest of the time, it's just an etheric shell. It's close to getting out the door. My better judgment told me to wish Henri luck and leave. Instead, I shook my head and turned around. Okay, Katie, here's what he said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Ms. Klaus. Anger and shame crossed her face for just a moment. I couldn't understand how Henri had married this shrew. Okay, Miss Klaus. Henri told me that the safe is on a time lock. It's only here on a daily basis, during the window between which you poisoned him and when he died. I expected a lot of things. Yelling, cursing, throwing stuff. Instead, she started to cry. I'm so sorry, Henri. I miss you. I'm sorry. I started back out the door, but Miss Klaus stopped. Please wait, she cried. So close. I didn't mean to do it. I was just angry. Henri stood over his wife, trying to console her, and even though she couldn't tell he was standing right there, Henri, do I care that she killed you? I asked. You know, enough to do something. Miss Klaus turned pale and trembled. Her eyes darted around the room as she was searching for something before leaning against the arm of the couch for support. If I'd thought it through, I might have been worried she'd do something rash. Henri smiled. No, kid, it's fine. I was dying anyway. She saved me from a lot of pain. Besides, if you pull this off, she'll be out of here by her own volition soon enough. All right, Henri, in that case, should I be doing this? If what you say is true, the specter of my mentor cast a look at his wife. Either way, her fate is set. At most, you might speed it up a little. I looked closely at Henri's Black Widow. I should have been more concerned by the fact she'd killed Henri, but if he was fine with it, who was I to argue? It wasn't my job to keep her from doing something stupid, and she had killed my friend. He says it's fine, so what time did you kill Henri? She shuddered. I don't know. I pled on her behalf. Henri, can you help me out here? Even Henri must have been getting a little bored with his game because he got right to the point. 12:47 to 1:05 p.m. Okay, this is an improvement. It's 12:40. What's the combination, Henri? He waved his hands. How easy am I supposed to make this one for you? All right, seeing how it's almost time you've had to put up with my dear wife, I'll toss you a bone. 12 left, 31 right, 19 left, 8 right, and 4 left. I replied. 12, 31, 19, 8, 4, I replied. Miss Klaus started to cry again. Our wedding day. So, that's a good little start out of Pandora's Curse and his easy way of just starting to get into trouble.
Very good.
What time are we on?
I got 20 after.
Oh, 20 after. So I also have a piece here from a spin-off series called Nobody's Business. As a part of this world, I have a very ineffectual law enforcement agency that's always trying to keep those things that go bump in the night away from everything else, or at least the people, and they don't do a really good job of it. In doing this and working on the series, it was one of those things I wanted to help reflect because in Home Summonings, my main character was raised in a world around gods, monsters, everything else. He doesn't know any different. It's normal to him to be sitting down with a 1,000-year-old deity. With the spinoff, the Longbow Initiative, this is more stories from the law enforcement side of the things that they're having to look at, things they're looking to do to deal with. And I'd already done a couple of stories in the series, and I had gone to police school for writers in Wisconsin. 4 days of abnormal psychology, 4 days of playing with luminol and weapons and getting into dealing with all the fun stuff from a law enforcement perspective. And I'm on the flight home and trying to figure out how to turn it into a business expense. So, flying home, and I was sort of starting to outline some stuff, and I was playing with some cozy mysteries and whatnot, and I walked in the front door of the house, and when I got there, I had a box from ThinkGeek sitting there about yay tall. I pull it out, and it's a gnome I had just ordered that has this big, wide, wicked grin on his face. It says, look, he's swinging a Tommy gun through the midair, and at the bottom it says, say hello to my little friend. And it's over here in the dealer's room, and when I saw that, I came up with the idea, someone is murdering gnomes and turning them into garden statuary. And so that's why I write gnomes. And so this is my gateway drug. So a lot of people that get into this, if you want another style of humor that feeds into this is sort of that humor. Agent Beth Raines followed the incessant trill to her new boss's desk. Special Agent Gerard Wynn had left for a long week meeting at Longbow headquarters, somewhere in the UK. She followed the sound until she found the right drawer. That drawer. Damn. Before he left, Wynn had instructed her that if any of the phones in that drawer went off, answer it, find out what was going on, and call him immediately. He also said these phones never rang. Well, almost never. They were used by various field resources that did occasional work or reported odd happenings in the veiled world. The world that didn't exist. The world of the supernatural. Her new assignment, career suicide. She grabbed the device and gave up trying to interpret the string of symbols on the screen before answering. Agent Beth Raines. A stubby nose and part of a beard filled the window. The voice was gruff and hesitant. Is the man of wind there? No, I'm sorry. A large blue eye blinked back. Do you mean Agent Wynn? A sound somewhere between a sneeze and a hurricane blasted back. Yes, the man of wind. When can I talk to the man of wind? I'm sorry he won't be back for several days. Can I help you? More of the odd shrieks and chatter. You were his offspring or his mate? Raines felt the blood rush to her face. No, we work together. Paper rustled in the background. The man of Hick. Hicks, Wynn's longtime partner, was in the field. No, I'm sorry. I'm the only one here. At full strength, the small office was equipped for 12 people. As far as she knew, until she arrived, Wynn and Hicks had been on their own. The video screen went gray except for a few jostling shadows with the soundtrack of scratching, rustling, and grunting echoing through the phone. Hello? She answered. Are you there? The eye reappeared and filled the small screen. I am Caryatink Powerfinger. Yes, sir? I'm sorry, what? Colvin. The screen bounced until it was aimed at a small concrete statue of a figure in overalls with a long beard and a peaked hat. Tolvin is a concrete leprechaun? The growl that came through was only half as angry as the lips that cut a thin line through her graying brown beard. Tolvin, my brother, Tolvin Powerflinger, is dead. Oh! Raines' heart thudded in her chest. My condolences, what happened? She shrieked back. He was murdered! What is it? Wynn barked into the phone. He'd only just gotten to sleep. It was a little after 2 a.m. just outside the small base on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. The jet lag was wearing on him. Not to mention the half day of intensive interrogation, and the latter half being evaluations and drills he hadn't endured since his special forces training. I'm really sorry, Raines stared at the lines in her boss's face. I wouldn't call, but I think it's important. Spit it out, Beth. I'd like to get a couple of hours of sleep. You received a call from a Caryatink Powerflinger. Damn. Cranked up the knob that would bring up the old brass lamp to life and sat up. What did she say? She drew in a deep breath. Did you say she? Yeah, Raines, she, as in your gender. Did she say why her brother Tolvin didn't call me himself? Said he was dead? Did you say dead? Gnomes are pretty hardy creatures. Tolvin was one of the toughest he'd met and a little over a foot tall. What else did she say? Yeah, she showed me something that looked like a statue. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. Just a minute. Wynn stretched and fumbled for his laptop. Power outlets were short supply in the old castle, and then in this room, the only one was way under the bed. A few keystrokes later, he pulled up the replay. He scratched his head and grunted as he watched the recorded conversation. It was hard to tell from the feed, but the statue looked a lot like Tolvin. You called them leprechauns? And sir, never mind, I'll straighten it out. Just get your bags back. So let me find out what's happening, but I think I'll need you to go on site and investigate. And read up on gnome culture. Wynn entered the password that allowed him the classified file and killed the conversation with Raines. Tolvin Powerflinger's picture and vital statistics covered the first page. Wynn relocated his contact and the rest of his tribe of mountain gnomes out of Germany after they helped in an operation against some local trolls that had been causing problems for an alpine village. The tribe also did some occasional digging and construction work for Longbow Initiative when needed. Tolvin had been his people's version of law enforcement and an army all in one. He was also a skilled stonemason, and with his sister's help had renovated Wynn's kitchen at the mountain retreat. With the push of an icon and 2 rings later, a familiar pudgy nose filled the small window. "Hey, Tink, what's happened?" "Man of Wind, is that you?" "Yeah, it's me. What happened to Tolvin?" She snapped back. "Well, see for yourself." The video wobbled until it was filled with a gray stone. "Can you back it up a little?" The camera was finally positioned where the figure was visible. A stubby concrete finger was pointed up just over his head. The glint of gold flashed from behind a curled lip. It looked like the gnome had been frozen and turned to rock in the middle of an argument. What had the ability to do this? A lone tear bubbled in the large orb filling the screen. "Can you help, please?" "I'll be there as soon as I can, but it'll be a few days," she let out a small cry. "Until then, I'm sending Beth Raines. You talked to her earlier. She's one of my best. Man of Raines." She knew the sound of the small clip she let out. She wasn't happy. "She called us leprechauns and thought I was a he." "I know. It's not you. It's the signal here wasn't very good. You know how the camera can't capture your glorious essence." A little flattery went a long way. "Your man magic device needs improvement. If you would let us work on it." "Stay safe, Tink. Help is on the way. And don't work on the phone. It'll void the warranty." The envelope concealed a small pouch with a hemp necklace carrying a tourmalated quartz focal with 4 black lines etched in a crossing pattern. Wynn had told her to take it on the trip to Colorado, but not to put it on until she was at the village, or to open the pouch either. She was having to go on her first solo case since joining the unit and would have to do it without any backup. The Longbow Initiative was an independent international agency that worked to keep humanity safe from the stuff that went bump in the night, but did just as much to protect the innocent of the Veiled Peoples from human blunderings. They worked with various intelligence and law enforcement agencies and local agents on an as-needed basis. Wynn had apologized for the circumstances, but since she was on loan from the Bureau and had a few years under her belt, she was on her own until she could get back up. In the few short weeks on the assignment, been the strangest she'd ever had by far. She'd encountered a Wynn a while back when she was undercover investigating a nationwide psychic scam that turned out to be run by some real psychic fae. The downside was they fed on the R's of their clients. Wynn helped her clean up the mess and offered her a job since she hadn't entirely freaked out over the idea of an unseen world. Her parents had dabbled in magic and had gotten them killed when she was young. She'd convinced herself that those memories were just a fantasy until one of the creatures from her nightmares tried to suck her dry. Wynn offered to help her work through the memories, and since the Bureau had put her on leave anyway, she didn't have much else to do. She'd gotten an earful from her new boss about not insulting the Fae. The reminder that they could be petty and vengeful was not lost on her. The background file had sent to her didn't give her a lot of information other than she'd be dealing with some kind of Fae. And that all of them were bearded, even the women. Until now, she just thought gnomes were cheap lawn decorations. Based on the reference in the file, she'd brought an expensive truffle as a peace offering. The flight to Telluride gave her just enough time to read through the basic briefing in the file before entering new territory. Unfortunately, it was mostly folklore and not a lot of real intelligence. Even worse, when the guy in the seat next to her saw the topic, he spent the trip telling her all the mythology he knew from gaming. All in all, a couple of useless hours. She threw her bags in the 4x4 she'd gotten as a rental and drove northwest into the national forest. Nothing else to drive through the mountains had let her center herself. 6 miles of winding road from the Lily Pine Valley, population 255, the truck let out a protest before falling silent. She barely reached the side of the gravel road before coming to a dead stop. She was going to have to hike it, at least it was a cool but pleasant evening. According to procedure, she decided to let the boss know. Wynn answered on the 3rd ring. "You there yet?" "Almost." She checked and holstered her weapon and getting ready for the hike. The last thing she needed was to run into a bear. Car died outside of town. Wynn's chuckle was annoying. "Put on the necklace I told you to bring." "What?" "Just do it." She searched in the top pocket of her bag, and it wasn't there. "Hold on, it must have slipped out." Of course it did. Giving up on finding it the easy way, she dumped her bag into the crew cab and rifled through everything, making a mess as she hurriedly repacked. Damn it, it's not here. Yes, it is. How the hell did he know? He was half a planet away. What's the big deal anyway? You said I didn't need it until I got to town. Just keep looking. She debated littering and flinging the phone into the woods, but caught something out of the corner of her eye. The necklace lay on the dash. The small pouch lay next to it. Never mind. She clasped the chain behind her neck and let it fall. Son of a... Where did you come from? A stout creature that was shy of a foot tall in red overalls reminded her of a mad schoolmarm tapping its foot with arms folded over its chest. Its peaked hat was balanced on a chubby round face and a thick pointed brown beard like a diamond floating on a lumpy beach ball. Thick lips did little high row of sharp, bared teeth. Another one stood on the hood of the car, twirling a cable harness and grinning wildly. Everything about them was either bulbous or sharply pointed. The voice was unmistakable. You kept me waiting and then flew straight past us. What kind of help are you supposed to be? Carry a tank? I'm not your fairy godmother, that's for sure. You're not the man of wind, she huffed. You're the lackey. Rains lifted her finger, not the one she really wanted to use, and unmuted the phone. Boss? He smirked. Yeah? Carrie Pink shrieked. She's useless. Are you coming or what? Rains turned the phone to face the raging gnome, unsure if he'd be able to see or hear her. Apparently he could, and she fought a smile as her boss calmed the small but savage beast. Tink, be nice, or I'll bring her home. Are you ready to take her to the village? Boss, they stranded me in the middle of... No. The nomad pointed at Rains. It was the only way to get the Sal's attention. Sal, There was no way she was getting that truffle, unless it was shoved somewhere very uncomfortable. You two play nice, and remember, you're on their turf. Treat it like an embassy trip. And Rains, whatever you do, don't lose that necklace. Rain's deep sigh carried through the phone. Tink, she'd better be in one piece when I get there. Thanks, boss. Response landed on blank screen. Hi. The gnome from outside was sitting on the dashboard, a wide grin on his face, still twirling the bundle of wires. She hoped a voice from that deep was at least a guy. I'm Widget Prop. Erston Widget Prop. Hi, I'm assuming you wouldn't mind fixing the truck. The harness disappeared from his hand. Done, miss. Quit flirting with the lackey, Widget Prop. I'm Agent Rains, Mr. Widget Prop. She cast a raised eyebrow and a wicked grin to Carrie Pink. Are a pleasure to meet. Fine. The nomad kicked her compatriot off the dash and pointed behind them. Turn your mechanical beast around. Coppistown is back that way. The gnome village was less than a half a mile back up the road, according to her new guide. The pint-sized Captain Bligh barked orders and deftly navigated an overgrown path till the truck was securely hidden. No need for an accidental tourist to stumble where they weren't wanted. Rains opened the door to the truck. What now, mon capitan? Are you carrying any iron, steel, metal? Carrie Pink stood on the hood, her hands on her hips. My weapon, badge, spare magazines, they all have to go. Leave them here. She snapped her fingers. Hurry up. Rains debated protesting, but when it said it would be like an embassy visit. She secured and hit them as best she could. Fine. What's next? Rita Globa. In an instant, the world around Rains grew. She could barely reach the running board on the truck. She'd been shrunken to the size of a large doll. A large, naked doll in a sea of oversized clothes. The keys had fallen out of her hand and were the size of a keg. Widget Prop jumped down from the console and greeted her with a goofy grin. Small freckles dotted his face under the auburn beard. Hi again. You'll need this. He held out a pouch. Rain shoved the bag aside and grabbed for Carrie Pink, but missed, tripping over the folds of her shirt in the thigh-high grass. What did you do to me, you sorry creature? She reappeared on the running board of the truck, stubby hands supported by thick hips. How else do you think you're going to help? It's a gnome village, after all. Can't have a full-grown sow tromping through and making a mess. What about a little warning? You have the necklace. How's it my fault you don't know how it works? bitch.
Very good. Good setup. All right, and where can people find your books?
You can find my books on Amazon. You can also find me at jim-mcdonald.net. You can also find, for those of you who are writers or creatives in the field, I also have a company called The Writer Mind, or thewritermind.com. You can find books and material on the industry of writing and being a publisher out there as well.
All right, thank you.
And so